Alrighty, let me introduce you to our next speaker. We have got so much going on here for our beautiful Kirsty. Let me tell you a little bit about Kirsty. For those of you who have not met her before, I was buzzing when I got off the phone. I'll be honest, I hadn't gotten to know Kirsty really, really well. And we had this conversation. I was going, oh my gosh, you're going to add so much value to the team. I was just so excited. So Kirsty is an SSC, started in November 2020. Yep, that's last year, and so has moved through to SSC in that time. So I think there's something that she's doing right here. She has spent over 14 years in direct sales and marketing, building her muscles the hard way through face-to-face, door knocking, and shopping centers. If anybody else has ever done that, I have, you know how difficult that actually is. She mastered the sales skills to become a top performer, compensated solely on commissions. Now that takes courage. She went out on her own to run her own sales and marketing company for 10 years and trained her team on her proven techniques and systems. And after that, she has only had 6 months of being paid a salary before she fell pregnant. Once she became a mum, it was clear she did not want to work for anyone else and wanted the work from home lifestyle to focus on her priorities. The answer to this was Juice Plus. And so about a year ago now, she said yes, and we're really pleased that she did. So over to you, gorgeous girl, and share your wisdom with the team today.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be able to speak alongside so many incredible speakers, and certainly honored to be speaking about a topic that I'm really, really passionate about. I definitely did build my sales muscle the hard way, doing face-to-face, and I'm sure some of you are probably thinking I could never do that. And, you know, when I started in that business, I absolutely had a lot of those same fears that I think a lot of us can relate to when starting out in this business, right? That fear of rejection. What were people going to think of me? Maybe you can pop a number 2 in the chat if you can relate to some of these fears, right? You know, I had those fears around what if I suck at this? What if I don't do well? Being face-to-face, I also had those fears around, you know, what if somebody closes the door in my face? Or what if I don't make a sale? I won't get paid. I worked on commission, right? So that rejection was certainly hard, and those fears were large, but it really taught me so much about resilience. And it really taught me about positivity and sticking at something, and grit and motivation to not give up. So yeah, I did work on commission for my whole life. I've only ever really had a 6-month stint of being on a salary. And truthfully, I hated the glass ceiling. I really found that working on a salary, I felt like, I mean, I'm someone who works hard. I know I'm a high achiever, and I would work so hard, and eventually I would really get frustrated because the person next to me was doing 60% less work and we were getting paid the same. So eventually I started to do the least amount of work possible to get the same pay, right? So I found it really unmotivating. And once I became a mum, I knew that I did want to work for myself again. I wanted to have another business of some kind, and this business made so much sense to me. So I definitely had to overcome those fears again of what people would think. And it took me a long time to build the courage up and the confidence to say yes and start at this. But once I did, I knew that from day one, as long as I could just learn the steps and the systems, I knew that I'd be able to handle the rejection and the no's. So I shared this with you because the one thing that I honestly love the most about our business is that anyone can do it. It's the only industry where it's a level playing field, right? And everyone has a fair chance of creating something regardless of your experience. It's totally merit-based. And I love that. So when I started, I really just immersed myself in the training and learning the systems, but, you know, and really following those systems. I must admit, when I first started, I absolutely tried to go off and figure this out on my own because, you know, I have so much sales experience. I kind of felt like, oh, I can do this. I know how to sell, and tried to work it out myself, went and had loads of conversations, and that didn't go too great. So I came back to, you know, really just learning the essence of plugging into training and, you know, really working closely with my upline. We all have the, you know, the same access to the same training. So once I really plugged in and learnt the blueprint system and learnt what to say. Once I figured out those systems and, and was able to combine that with my work ethic, I was able to create some pretty great results. So if I could share with you all how I take the guesswork out and help you really fall in love with the process and help you increase your chances of bringing on more customers and more team, would you guys be into that? Awesome. Okay, so I believe our business has two parts. It's a numbers game and it's a relationship game. Okay. When we're new, I feel like we do a lot of hoping. We do a lot of hoping. We do a lot of kind of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. I don't know about you, but I remember putting my first post up on social media and kind of like waiting for everyone to roll into my inbox and say yes. So, it's that didn't happen, obviously. So if you're just posting every day, but you're not actively going out and having conversations and increasing your network and adding people to your list and talking to people and building great relationships, and then you're sitting back and wondering why you're not getting results, it's likely that you're just winging it. Okay. And you're doing a lot of hoping. You're doing a lot of the posting, but not a lot of the actual work that gets us paid. Right. So if you're feeling like that, this is going to be really powerful to help you turn those posts into conversations and those conversations into sales, hopefully. So let's talk about attraction marketing and advertising through social media for a minute. Okay. Maybe you can pop in the chat if anyone knows the answer to this. Does anyone know, on average, how many advertisements we are exposed to every day? Pop in the chat if you know the answer. 10,000. Okay, lots of guesses there. So it's actually between 6,000 and 10,000 advertisements. Big number, right? And only 5 years ago, that was like 2,500. So this is the world of social media. Okay. So between 6,000 and 10,000 advertisements every single day. So what I'm going to just really quickly do is I'm actually going to bring someone off mute. I'm going to get Vicky to jump on with me because I wanted to volunteer, but because there's so many of us on here, I didn't want to kind of pick a random. So I've got Vicky Gillingham, who I've kind of prepped that I'm going to ask her a question. I'm just going to see, shall I find her or?
I'm here.
You're there. Okay, cool. Like, don't ask me to find you amongst all of them. Hey, Vic. Okay, so I've prepped Vicky that I'm going to ask her a question, but she doesn't know what I'm going to ask her. Okay, so as I've just mentioned, we obviously, just yesterday and every single day we're exposed to, between 6,000 to 10,000 advertisements, right? So Vicky, just if I could ask you, can you remember, and maybe you can rattle them off for everyone, can you remember 10 advertisements that you saw yesterday?
Juice Plus. Facebook. What else? Alia Skincare. I feel like it's all things that I already use, or it's, what I find, it's funny, like I'll talk to Kane about something and I swear your phone hears what you say because it'll like pop up in your ads.
That's two.
There's two. So yeah, Juice Plus, Alia. I don't know what the name is, but I'm getting some with like oils and stuff at the moment.
So kind of 2.5 because we don't know who it was.
Yeah, we don't know who it was. I know sort of what it was. What else?
So it seems like it's kind of challenging, right?
It is. I don't know.
So I'm going to ask you another question then. So have you ever had somebody come to, I know we're in lockdown, so probably not recently, but have you ever had somebody come to your door selling you something? It could have been years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but just ever.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what they were selling?
I think it was energy.
Okay. So what are those?
I definitely had some energy people when I was on maternity leave.
Yeah. And do you remember one specifically?
Yep.
Okay. Was it a guy or a girl?
A guy.
And was it during the day or at night, morning?
Day. Yeah.
Okay. And was he wearing like a branded outfit, or was he just totally plain clothed?
No, branded. And I remember he had like a lanyard on as well. Yeah.
Do you remember what brand, like what company?
I'd only be guessing, but I have a feeling it was like Red Energy or something like that. Yeah.
And do you remember his name?
So,
All right, cool. Thank you so much for playing. So what does this tell us, right? Vicky could hardly remember, 5 advertisements that she saw just yesterday, right? Or kind of 2.5, but even with the oils that she saw, she couldn't remember the name of the actual company. Okay. But she could remember, how long ago was it, Vicky, where, that this person came on maternity leave? So
so within the last couple of years. Yeah,
okay.
So when we're at our old house. So yeah, probably, nearly 18 months ago.
Yeah. So over 18 months ago, thank you so much, Vicky.
No
Over 18 months ago, Vicky can remember that she had a male come to her door selling her energy. He was, kind of plain clothes, but he had a lanyard on, and it was during the day. And she could remember so much detail so vividly, right? But seeing between 6,000 to 10,000 advertisements yesterday, she really struggled to remember just 5. So what's the lesson here, right? Like, how noisy is social media? People aren't going to bed at night thinking about the post that you put up, right? People remember people. And when you realize that we're a human commercial, like, people remember conversations, right? They don't remember posts. So, the posting part of what we do, it's kind of the marketing side. It's a really important part, but the conversations is where the actual sales will happen, right? So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And people will remember the way you make them feel. Okay. So social media and posting on socials, it's a really critical part of what we do. It's important, living the mission. It helps us create that curiosity. It creates interest, but we can't control who buys from our posts. We can't control the amount of people that come to us. We can't control the amount of people that actually, convert into sales. So if you're just doing the posting and then sitting around hoping and waiting for people to come to you, you might be waiting quite a while before you actually find those sales, right? So we need to really stop focusing on what we can't control and focus on what we can control. And what can we control? Well, that's, we can control the amount of conversations we have. We can control the quality of our conversations, the quality of the questions that we ask, the relationships that we're building, right? We can control, how many people we're inviting. And the really great thing about this is that even when you're new, you can still win here, right? And I'm going to show you how you can increase your results without having to rely on your skill set. And you really don't need to wait you don't need to wait to get good to actually get started in this, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about the law of averages, okay? The law of averages implies that the more people we speak to, the more we increase our chances of getting more sales, right? And finding more yeses. Every no brings you closer to a yes. I often hear people say, particularly when they're new, and I get caught up in this sometimes too, that, I'm talking to so many people. I'm having so many conversations. No one's interested. I'm not getting any results. I'm not getting anyone on board, but I'm doing all the work and I'm talking to so many people, right? And instantly when we feel like that doubt kicks in. Okay. We start thinking it's us. We start taking it personally. We start questioning everything. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. Is this sounding familiar for you guys? I certainly get stuck in this mindset. It's, I don't want to be pushy. Everyone else is getting customers. Why can't I? Okay. So we really need to take the emotion out and really focus on the logic. And although it's absolutely, we're in an emotional business where empathy and emotion is important in our conversations, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, and we need to be really logical about our approach. Okay, numbers don't lie. It's concrete information. So if you're feeling like you're talking to a lot of people and you're not getting results, go and have a look at your tracking sheets. I literally pull out my tracking sheets when I'm feeling like this, and I have a look at, okay, well, how many conversations am I in? How many invites have I sent? And if you guys have a look in your workbooks, you'll see I've popped down some examples of tracking sheets here. And it's looking at how many conversations are you having? How many invites are you sending? How many people have you sent the event to or information to? How many people have you followed up, and how often are you following up, right? And how many people have ordered. But when I look at my numbers, it's 9 times out of 10, if I'm ever feeling like I'm not getting results, I get my answer from my tracking sheet. I get my answers as to why I'm not getting results through my tracking sheet, because it gives me concrete information. Okay. So if you don't know how many people you're talking to, you really are just guessing. It's really easy to get really frustrated really easily. So when we know our numbers and we're focused on just following the process, you can have fun with the process and stay really positive. Okay. So let's say you know your law of averages and you know your conversion rate because you track. And if you don't currently know your conversion rate, it's because you haven't tracked it and worked it out yet. So I encourage that to be a really big focus for you. So let's say your conversion rate is 1 in 10. Okay. You need to talk to 10 people about the products or the business to get a yes. So if you know that that's your conversion rate and you've spoken to 8 people, what does that mean for the next 2 people you're going to speak to? If your numbers are 1 in 10, okay, you should be getting a yes. Now, it's not always going to work out on customer number 10, right? It doesn't mean if your numbers are 1 in 10, you're going to get a yes every 10 customers, right? It could be you talk to 20 and you get 2 out of those 20, right? It's an average. We don't know where they're going to land. But if you knew for sure that your numbers are 1 in 10, you've spoken to 8, if you knew and you were guaranteed to find a yes in those next 2 customers, how do you think that you would show up in those conversations? Pop it in the chat, play with me here. How would you come across if you knew, if it was guaranteed that someone would say yes? You would be confident. Wouldn't you be relaxed? Hasn't been the theme of the day about, are you making this about you or is this about them? So if you knew, there would be certainty, right? You would be relaxed, you would be empathetic, you would have heart, you wouldn't care about the outcome, right? You would be so detached from the outcome. So likewise though, if you're not tracking and you're not aware of this and you're starting to feel that doubt and you're getting really frustrated because you're not getting results, you've lost belief and you're so fixated on getting the outcome, likewise, how do you think you could come across in those conversations? When you're really frustrated, you're so focused on the sale, all you want to get is a result, you've lost belief. How do you think you could come across in those conversations if you're feeling frustrated? A bit desperate, yeah. Tense, pushy, flat. Aren't all these the things that we don't want to be? We're so scared of being pushy and desperate. But if we don't have that belief and if we're only focused on the outcome, we can unintentionally come across really pushy and really desperate. Okay, so this is why I track. It allows me to stay calm. It allows me to go into my conversations with ease. Okay, some will, some won't. So what? Move on. One of my favorite quotes. Okay, and what I love, Jim Rohn says is, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. So let's say you talk to 10 people and you get 1, and you talk to another 10 and you get 1. You talk to another 10 people and you get 1. This time you talk to another 10, but this time you get 2. Why? Why is that possible? You get better, right? Your skill set improves. Okay. So here's the thing. Let's say after you've spoken to 50 people, you're new, you're starting, all right. You don't quite have the skill set yet, but you start to improve, right? What do you think is going to happen after you've had 50 conversations? Okay. Do you think you'll start to get better? What about after 250 conversations? Because you're leaning into your upline, you're learning the system, you're coming to training and you're getting better. So your numbers will improve. Your numbers will improve, as does your skill. And you know what the really cool thing about this is? You don't have to be great to get the sales. Your skills will improve over time. This is absolutely a work ethic over skill set business, right? Let's say I am, let's say I'm highly skilled and my conversion's 1 in 5. So I need to talk to 5 people to get 1 yes. Okay. You're maybe newer and your conversion rate might be 1 in 10. Okay. So let's say I'm highly skilled, 1 in 5 conversion, and I'm in 10 conversations, but you're newer with a 1 in 10 conversion. Okay. But you're talking to 40 people. Who's going to get more yeses? Who's going to get more team? Who's going to get more sales? You, every single time. So how exciting is that, right? It's always going to be your work ethic, and you can control the people. You can control. That's the one thing that you can control. So you need to focus on controlling the controllables, right? If you're never in those conversations, it's great to have more conversations, but if you don't actually ever invite them, and this is what Adam was talking about, if you don't ever just invite them to take a look though, you're just creating pen pals. You are just making pen pals, and you're actually wasting time for you and them, right? So if you're speaking to enough people and you're building those relationships, eventually going to find some common ground with people, right? And as Linda said, not everyone wants this. You're not going to bring Juice Plus up with every single conversation you're having, okay? You may not get there with everyone, and that's why the volume of numbers is important. But you need to be able to be brave enough to invite them to take that look, okay? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay, and people want to be heard. So we need to do less of this and more of this, right? Less talking, more listening. Okay, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So ask great questions and let them talk. And when you're a great listener, when you get that pain point, when you get the opportunity to invite them to take a look, right? All you need to do is just share with them. You're not selling. We actually don't sell anything but ourselves and our stories. Yes, we get paid from physically selling Juice Plus, but the only reason people buy that is because they've connected with you, you've related to them, and you've shared something that they want. So let's not forget that we need to really just share from a place of authenticity. And the message that I've heard over and over again today is are you making it about you, or are you making it about them? So don't let Juice Plus be a secret. If you feel that they've told you something that you feel this could benefit them, whether it's the business or the products, I feel like we have a duty of care to share that, right? I personally think I'd be doing a disservice to somebody if I don't invite them to have a look at it. I'm like, if I can help you and I don't at least tell you about it, I'm a bad friend, right? Like, that's how I actually feel. So you really need to get out of your head and into your heart. Really get out of your head and into your heart, and don't make it about you. Okay. So when you're inviting them, it's that, hey, no pressure, or I can't help but think, I was sitting here having a cuppa, and, yesterday when you told me that you were feeling really bored, and you've got nothing to look forward to. I'm talking to a lot of stay-at-home mums in lockdown right now, right? So, I couldn't help but think maybe you'd like to take a closer look at what I do in my online biz. I've loved having something outside of mum life. It's reignited that flame, and I couldn't help but think maybe it could be good for you too. No pressure, and totally fine if not. But if I was to flick you over some info, would you be open to taking a look? And it's like, from here, I'm just going to share this. And if it's not for you, I still love you. No worries. Right. And that's how I come across in those invites. Okay. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? Instead of thinking, what if they say no? What if they say yes? And the truth is, even if they say no, you can move on. You're not lingering around in this conversation where we're kind of like never getting to the point. Okay, so it's a peaceful thing for me. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Like, okay, I can move on. And when somebody says no, it's just the relationship building. I send them a recipe. I keep in touch every few months, because you know what the greatest part of our business is? Our no's today could be our maybes next time, and our maybes today can be yeses next time. So that's the beautiful thing, but you need to nurture that and maintain the relationship and make them feel like you care. Okay. So for me, all of this combined, you need to track and you need to understand what your numbers are so that you can actually keep moving forward and focus on the process. So when I track, it allows me to stay positive. It allows me to keep focused on the process, not the outcome. It also allows me to identify the gaps. And as a trainer, when I'm working with someone, it's so important. If you're saying, I'm talking to so many people and I don't, no one's saying yes, but you don't have your numbers, how can I coach you? How can I figure out what you need to work on? Because just like you may not be talking to enough people, the same thing goes. Let's say you are talking to a lot of people, you're in 20, 30, 40 conversations and you're not converting. I can see where you need to improve. If you're not tracking, we can't identify the areas, right? Let's say you've sent 30 invites, you've sent 30 events, no one's converting. We can tweak things. There may be just 1 or 2 millimeter shifts that we can make, but we can identify those gaps and help you get better. If you don't change anything though, and you talk to another 30, you're going to get the same results. The definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So we track for that. We also track for the long game. I don't know about you, but when I started, after a week, I couldn't keep up with my conversations. I was totally forgetting who I was talking to, right? So when we track and we keep a track of who we're talking to, and you create that Bible, right? Ange was talking about that list. I can't remember the name of it, but I loved that. And it's just keeping a track of the names so that you know, let's say down the track, long term, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years from now, we have a blitz or we have, you know, sales or promotions. You always have people that you can keep going back to. So I guess, you know, when you think about your why you're building a Juice Plus business, it just makes sense to fall in love with your customers and also fall in love with the numbers too. The numbers are your concrete information. They're the numbers. They're your measure of getting better. They're your measure of getting and making stronger connections with people and ultimately moving closer to your goals and your dreams. So what if for the next 4 weeks, you just track your numbers and see what happens? See if you can just talk to more people, set some PBs, set some goals, right? See if you can talk to more people, get excited about following up instead of dreading it, and consciously making more invitations to people to have a look. Imagine if you could feel less awkward and more at ease about it, detached from the outcome and just more invested in the relationships you're building. With that posture and that confidence, what do you think will happen with your conversion rate? So just remember, it's not the most skilled person who wins, it's the person who's having the most conversations. So I dare you to just start tracking your numbers from Monday and go out there and really try to create some PBs. Thank you so much for having me. That's all from me.
Woo-hoo! Well, I can see now, I hope you all can see now why we feel very, very blessed to have had you share with us today.